Good evening. You're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. Of Kenya's greatest tourist attraction is the Masai Mara, bringing this nation 2 billion shillings a year in revenue. And in fact, housing one of the 8 wonders of the world, the wildebeest migration. To what extent is the destruction of the Mau Forest complex affecting this wonderful asset for this nation, the Masai Mara? Here to answer this and much more, my brother Redema. How does the Mau impact on tourism, the Masai Mara, the migration?
I'll put it this way. If we do not save the Mau Forest, in a few years, the Masai Mara ecosystem will be no more. You'd rather go and settle people there because all the animals would have died. If you think about the Mau, and the reason why we are so passionate about this catchment area is that it's a source of many rivers. You know, if you look at some transboundary rivers, like the Mara River. The Mara River flows from the Mau complex, goes all the way to the Masai Mara. This is the one that makes it possible for that 8th wonder of the world that brings in millions of tourists into this country. It goes all the way to the Serengeti area, where it allows those wildebeest to be able to graze well, you know, and then mate and then come back into the Masai Mara ecosystem. When you go to Western Kenya, as an example, Sondumiro, Nyando River, the source of the Mara, the source of those rivers is in the Mara, in the Mau Forest. They end up in Lake Victoria, which is also a source of the Nile. So really, this issue of the Mau complex is something which is very, very important, not only for Kenya, but for the entire African region. Because without a good source of the river, of course, you will not have the Nile.
Mheshimiwa, there's another question I wanted to ask you. I've read quite a bit about logging and the destruction to the forests, simply even beyond encroachment by the public, but commercialization of logging, of timber. Is this?
Let me put it this way. Some of the richest men in Narok today are people who made billions logging in the Mau Forest. You know, and even until today, people are still logging. And to some extent, even the Kenya Forest Services is still abating corruption. Because from time to time, I've been able to stop trucks ferrying cedar post.
Mheshimiwa, that's very interesting. You're saying that Tobacco is sleeping on the job?
Not Tobacco. I'll put it this way. Before Tobacco came in,
yes.
you know, we have to be very careful here. Because even the president, where he is, he's got cabinet secretaries, he's got people who work for him. He's not omnipresent. He cannot be there throughout. You know, it is upon us now.
The only reason I'm asking you point blank,
yes,
he should do more to stop logging.
No, I think he has. I think he's doing it. And one of the things that I'm very happy about Tobacco is that he's been very responsive, and he's been point on in terms of the issue of conservation. He actually does not tolerate any politics on it. And that's the reason why, for us, I prefer talking conservation rather than talking politics.
I agree. And let's come to the county commander. To what extent is the government at the local level, the county, are they also alert? I've seen some positive statements. I just wonder to what extent.
Let me put it this way. In the history of Narok County, we have never had a county commissioner who has been so pertinent and someone who cares so much about conservation like we had Natembeya. And when Natembeya was promoted to become the regional coordinator, he then was appointed by Keriako Tobacco to be able to chair this task force of removing people from the Mau Forest. Because these are people who are able to divorce their own selfish interest with the interest of this great nation.
So specifically, because we are on point blank, I would like you to answer me specifically on this so that Kenyans understand, because there's no confusion. The Mau evictions, are they going on?
Absolutely.
When are they starting?
Well, can I tell you something which you don't know?
Yes.
In fact, right now, point blank, a lot of people have moved out of the Mau Forest. Okay? Last year, around the same time, when we had phase 1 of the Mau eviction, a lot of people left. A lot of people left. In fact, I would like to invite you to just go there. And
point blank will come.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, people have left. In fact, the problem with us politicians is that we like politicking so much, so that our people can be able to see us as if we are.
I'm coming back. I am not politicking this point blank. I'm asking in percentage terms, how many people have left now?
I would actually say about 60% of people have left.
So if anybody is watching you in the complex now who's thinking that there is a joke in government, what is your message to anyone?
My message to that person, point blank, this government is not joking. The government of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga are not joking.
So you move or be moved?
You move or be moved. And conservation is more important than my own interest.
What is the timeline? I want this clear.
Let me put it this way. There's this argument that there are schools. Let me tell you, we have 1 million schools in Kenya. And the last I checked, primary education is free. So it doesn't make any difference. If these people are moved from here and they're taken to another place, they can be admitted in another school for free. So that's not a big deal.
I take you back to timeline. I hear you on the schools. I'm coming back to timeline.
I would actually think
there is a statement given by the county government that there was a 90-day extension.
There's no 90-day extension.
So I want to avoid confusion.
No, what was there was just because of the human face. And I think the biggest problem we've had, and I think this is the same problem that the government has had, is how do we move these people and don't create another story of IDPs? How do we do it effectively? That has been the issue. It is not about conservation. It is not about whether these people should move out of the Mau forest. No. In fact, I would even ask the president to extend it not only into the Mau forest, but all our water catchment areas. I remember that a lot of people were moved from Mount Kenya region, from Mount Kenya forest. And a few days they were sitting outside the road, crying, and then after some time, those people they disappeared.
Mweshimo, I'm concerned, and I'm very concerned, and I'm putting it to you point blank. This country is used to creating problems so money can be found. The idea of IDPs is a matter that has always concerned me because they are created, and then the government is told, unless you compensate them, it can be a scam. If you are alleging that the Masai Mara, many of the issues there were commercial, and then those people leave and see a way in which politicians will advise them to cry and become IDPs for the express purpose of encashing. And that money comes from the public coffer. So I want to put it to you point blank. And I know some of these things involve national intelligence, and so some of the things you can't say on air. I'm aware because I've talked to my contacts in the National Intelligence Service. My question is, to what extent can this be used as a scam?
I'll put it this way, because right now we've got a lot of issues in terms of this immature debate on 2022 politics. This will be used to be able to create a narrative of why our person is better than your person when it comes to 2022.
And if you elect our person, we'll pay you.
And if you elect our person, we'll pay you. I think, to be honest with you, I think the most important thing right now is really to send these people back where they came from. They didn't fall from the trees. They came from somewhere. And they need to go back where they came from. I said it clearly, and I dare anyone to challenge me on this. Anyone who has encroached into the Mau forest has got a home in Kericho, Bomet, or even in Eldoret.
So I want to ask you, and I know let me put it to you point blank. The government services within the complex, I mean, there must be offices of chiefs and so on. Why does the government continue to allow an infrastructure to exist within the complex that is facilitating life to go on? I mean, to what extent are you dismantling the infrastructure?
I think
you can't cross a river if you don't have a bridge.
No, I think
you can't live where there is no hospital, my brother. I have to put this to you point blank. There are activities that aid people remaining there, and they are,
No, I think, let me put it this way. For us to properly conserve and for us to be able to support scientific research, it is important to have a bridge for you to be able to cross from one end to the other. So when the government was putting up those bridges, they were not putting up for that they can encourage people to encroach into that forest. It is to aid in scientific. There was a time when we in the Narok County, back then it was Narok County Council, thought of the Mau forest as a huge tourist attraction.
So my brother...
So you'll need a road for the tourists to go and see.
So my brother, can you assure me that you can, when you're having your meetings, that you can bring the issue of gating? Because one of the things that has saved our national parks has been a very comprehensive gating policy, both to stop poachers, to be able, of course, to regulate for income purposes, and also to be able to regulate the numbers of people go in order not to destroy the balance between, ticket sales and the conservation of our parks. Will Radama tell TG here at Point Blank that you can have and introduce a subject, both at the Senate, both at the meetings you have at home, about a proper gating system?
One thing that I can assure you is that I will fence the Mau Forest, with or without the government support. Once we fence the Mau Forest, we will allow vegetation to grow, we'll allow animals to come back, to go there, and then at that particular time, we'll now be able to open it up as a tourist attraction so that we can continue generating more resources into our country.
I'm coming back to gating because I've been studying quite a number of the conservation hot points around the world. And regulation of not just, yes, the fencing is a very good idea, but then access to the...
You can only bring in access once you have sanity. Once you have allowed the area to grow...
And that is why I'm asking long term.
And I think long term, absolutely.
Yes.
Because what is happening in Rwanda...
But because the Grand Canyon and other, beautiful things that you have...
Let's not even go to the US.
They bring so much revenue.
Let's stick to Rwanda as an example.
Yes.
The gorillas.
Yes.
When you go and watch the gorillas in this beautiful forest, and I thank President Kagame for such a wonderful job. I think our president can learn quite a lot from the decisiveness.
Senator, why I'm bringing this issue up at some length. People should not just see you are a victim and then just fence in the forest. There is economic potential which can, without harming the complex, can be able to enjoy a better, people of Kenya benefit from it, both in terms of seeing it, but economically as well.
Tony, point blank.
Yes.
A lot of people would not want to see it that way because all they care about is their own selfish interest about them getting back into power. I don't give a hoot in hell whether I'm elected again, whatever position in Narok County, so long as I save the Mau Forest, I'm happy.
So is there a path eventually? We have the Masai Mara, but there will be a path eventually where it's an economic asset.
It's one ecosystem, all of it.
Yes.
So yes,
fantastic.
I see a situation where we can fly in tourists
because really
to
my brother.
A forest. We can fly tourists to Narok County, a big international airport, which I hope will finish building it soon. And then from there, they can spend a couple of days visiting the Mau Forest, and then they can spend 5 days going to the Masai Mara.
Like Arboretum, we have here the walks,
Karura
Forest,
absolutely.
People can do walks.
Absolutely.
So Kenyans should see that there can be a positive.
The positive that Kenyans ought to see is the positive of conservation. Look at the people in Nairobi. Tony, look at you. You look great at 50 because you enjoy a beautiful environment. Karura Forest is beautiful. The river is flowing back again, thanks to Wangari Maathai and what she did, and she stood firm. That is the same thing that people should see when we have our Maasai children going out grazing their cows, the economy blossoming.
Mheshimiwa, let's shift gears and let me come to devolution. I want to ask you about how you've seen it, how it has helped or affected the Ma people, and how has it changed the lives of people? What would you like to see done better? Is devolution working in Kenya?
I think devolution has come in at the right time when we are wiser now than before. We have a fantastic new constitution which is helping us. Of course, we might change it to make it better, maybe to reduce the number of counties and make a few counties. I'd love to see a situation where Narok County, Kajiado, and Taita Taveta are combined into one county because we share similarities. We've got the issue of tourism as one of our main foreign income earners. We also share our people, the Maasai traverse among the 3 counties. It will also bring in more resources into the counties, where we can be able to change a few things. I'd like to see Amboseli National Park going back to the Kajiado County government. I would like to see Savo going back into Taita Taveta so that there'll be more on-source revenue that can be able to build that. But
there is also a talk that even a 3-tier system can cure what you're saying.
And that's the 3-tier system that I'm talking about.
Without reducing the county per se.
We don't reduce the counties.
You create a super, just like you have in the US.
Well, what we do is that we maintain the counties as 47, but the 3rd tier is really where we now have the governor, where the governor oversees these 3 counties. You know, we can have a county manager in Narok, we can have a county manager in Kajiado, and a county manager in Taita Taveta. But we have a legislative, like we have members of the Legislative Assembly sitting at the headquarters, wherever the headquarters would be. At the end of the day,
in the Western region, you have a,
you have a different one.
Coastal region.
You know,
and
you can combine Kericho, Bomet, and maybe Nakuru.
So Kenyans can understand and this not be used to politicize, because there are those who start here in point blank and politicize. The way in which, for example, we have the East African community is because of greater numbers.
Absolutely.
The European Union, greater numbers.
Yes.
So you're saying that people being together in regions, in greater numbers, get more resources and are more efficiently used.
Yeah, I think in this country we have to go back.
So really it's more an administrative than a political issue.
It is administrative.
Yeah, you know what because those who drum up and say this is political.
No, it's not political.
Smooth running of government.
It's smooth running of government.
Now that you've raised about some likelihood of changes in the constitution, there's a lot of talk about the executive structure and the idea that would be important to bring ministers in parliament and a prime minister sitting there so government is more accountable or held to account. Do you think that it would be better to have a hybrid system? Ministers need to be in parliament.
You know, I think I'd be a little bit, I'd give a little bit an orthodox explanation to my belief. I mean, in my view, I think a pure presidential system is the best system we can ever have in this country. I think we have to divorce ourselves from our own selfish interest, you know, wanting to be in government, wanting to be able to be both in government. I think if we do our work properly, I have no problem with a pure presidential system. But because of the divisive nature of our country, having over 42 ethnic groups, I think a parliamentary system might actually work best for this country. But the moment we look at ourselves as one country, one Kenya, and one people, then a presidential system will be the best solution.
Now, let me then ask you, because there's these two initiatives that are in the public domain. Punguza Mzigo, let me start there. Have they approached your county?
You would allow me to be very brief on the Punguza Mzigo. It's an utopian idea. Let's go to the BBI, which is much better. The BBI is more inclusive. It is gathering views from all over the country. It is getting ideas so that they can come up with a report. That report then is subjected to a national debate, a conference. Punguza Mzigo went, they sat down in the boardroom somewhere in Kilimani here, wrote this is what we want, and they published the bill. And they want now the bill to be published. Collected signatures, but they didn't really get views from the people. BBI is following the right path. What does Tony want? What does Olekina want? Let us sit down, let us debate. If it is a presidential system, so be it. If it's a parliamentary system, so be it. A three-tier government system, we maintain the 47 counties the way they are, so be it. But it's an inclusive approach.
So in the Ma community, if you put a dipstick, where is the Ma community on that issue? Are they BBI?
100% BBI.
And then,
no doubt about it.
Let me ask you then, in terms of the Ma community, is there more unity? The last elections saw quite a division. In the middle of the Ma.
You know, you'd be surprised. In the Ma community, there's never really been a division. It has always been, we've always been united in following a particular path. But the difference is that in the Maasai community, they look at an individual. So sometimes it doesn't matter which political party you're in. So long as they believe in your ideas and they think you can be able to help them articulate their issues better, they will vote for you even if you're independent.
Well, you're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. The Ma community is with the BBI, says Radama, but says Mau conservation is a matter of life and death for all Kenyans. This is KTN News.